Now this is another impressive book which I mentioned on a previous video which I've just made by Grandin, who is quite well known for working on improving the animal welfare conditions in for cattle before they're slaughtered. And it's also written by Catherine Johnson. Don't know if that's because Grandin couldn't write a book by herself, I'm not sure, but she has autism, seems quite noticeably autistic for a reason I can't quite place. I mean, it's I suppose quite archetypal as an academic in some ways. But what I wanted to address today is something which, I mean, I read this book maybe a couple of years after I was diagnosed 7 years ago with Asperger's syndrome at the age of 29. And do you hear the angst in my voice then? I know the subject is to do with details. People who are autistic, supposedly this book says some quite novel things like all animals are autistic savants. They're not like autistic savants, they are. They can do things people can't, like autistic people, the autistic savants. And it covers things like, it makes the suggestion that most people, neurotypicals, can't deal with details, which to me sounds a little bit like most people can't deal with facts and large amounts of information because they've got a low IQ. Could be, but it's also, now it seems more like that to me. At the time it was more like people with autism more concerned with details. Like animals are very easily spooked by things that we don't really notice, don't register in our sensory perception. They don't register our senses, they don't bother us, we don't like them a lot, we don't dislike them a lot. People who are very interested in particular subjects or narrow range of interests really want the details of everything. I mean, sometimes there's a usefulness to knowing these things if they're applied in the right way, so why wouldn't you if you have the intelligence? But you do notice that it's like you don't get the gist of certain things, or you can believe if you're autistic you don't get the gist of things. You have to have the details of specific things, so that might interfere with the way you think and function in your daily life. Intellectuals are often a bit more introverted. They're often not so good at networking. It's possibly not the case. This seems like Asperger's, doesn't it? But I mean, it's not necessarily what it is. I mean, intellectuals are intellectual. They're high IQ, intelligent people, very intelligent people. Why? And this is a sort of indictment of a bright person who is often not popular anyway and may not have achieved their potential at all. It can be bad enough if you manage to become a professor, but I mean, it's not although you're still not a popular person. See what I mean? It's so they have it, and that's to do with a part of the brain, the frontal lobes, not working. Animals have smaller frontal lobes, other animals, if you like, than most human beings, or autistic people are considered, I think, to have something less that doesn't work with the frontal lobes, or smaller frontal lobes. Maybe they do, maybe there's more to it than that, but it's that detail thing. And there's a video on YouTube called The Monkey Business Illusion, to do with something which was done in a visual cognition lab at the University of Illinois by a psychologist called Daniel Simons. Didn't quite remember all of it. occasionally nicknamed gorillas in our midst. There's some people playing basketball. I thought it sounded like it was a proper basketball game with a huge audience, but no, it's a video people watch, participants in the study watch, with a few kids throwing a basketball about. And if you don't know what's coming, there's a gorilla. You might not notice that there's a gorilla that comes out and beats its chest. Someone in a gorilla suit. A woman apparently looks at the camera, turns and looks at the camera, because you're looking for different things. There's one or two other things that might happen if you're not looking for them that you don't notice as well. And it's making the point that if so many people can't notice a thing like that, then what else don't we notice in life? Which is a good point. But then some of these things are a different sort of, are not observation linked, cognitive linked, they are ego linked. Like people only like to hear and see what they want to see, and say what they want about what they have or haven't seen. So there are moral reasons why people get called what they do and why they get indicted, and well, they're unpopular. Certain people are unpopular because of the morality or lack of other people. And I could go for a whole list of malignant narcissists, from support workers to volunteers and volunteer managers and teachers and doctors and psychiatrists, perhaps, and people like my dad, who's a psychiatric professional, and my mother and grandparents and extended family, who are all malignant narcissists of one form or another, who don't want me to do well. And strangers and other people you meet, they can do a lot of damage, and it doesn't matter how clever you are, they still find something wrong with what you say and do. So if you're willing to say you're not very good at something, when in fact you're the one seeing all the details, you're probably better at them. They're downplaying their weaknesses. They struggle with day-to-day life. They struggle with gists as well. Maybe that's why they do what they do. Maybe they're comorbid, a little bit Asperger's themselves. Maybe not. But there is a little bit of Asperger's in everybody, probably. Not sure how they prove that, or what the research says about it, but it's considered true. In fact, my psychiatrist said that.